Hey everyone, Mr. Aarons here. Today we are doing a little bit of review, a little bit of study guide action today, preparing for that Chapter 5 test coming up. So I'm going to do, there's 24 questions on this. I'm actually going to do, I think, 14 of them with you. So that only leaves about 10 left for you after this. I would suggest going through this whole thing, at least making sure you feel confident on the ideas before you submit this. All right, so I'm going to just dive right in. First one we're going to do is number 2 together. Ask for the least common multiple. I decided to do this one because a lot of people mess this up when we're doing the least common divisor on our quiz. Remember that least common multiple is trying to find the first thing that they both fit into. Not the thing that they have in common underneath them, but larger than them. And if that's not making sense to you right now, we thought about this as the idea of kind of counting up, going like 11, 22, 44, or I missed 33. How did I do that? 33, 44, so on, 20, 12, 24, 36, so on. And that's the kind of more challenging, longer way to do it. What we really want to do here is we want to use those factor trees and find what they break down into. So I'm going to break down 11, and that just breaks down into 11 and 1. And remember, we don't need that 1 if we get there. And 12 is going to break down to 4 and 3, and then 2 and 2, and we're done right there. All right, so I'm going to list these off. And remember, with our least common multiple, what we do is we find one version of each number that is there. So we're going to take one version of 2. There's only one of them, so we're going to take this one. We're going to take one version of 3. There's only one of them, so we're going to take this one. We're going to take one version of 11. There's only one of them, so we're going to take that one. And what we do is we just multiply those all together, and we will find the least common multiple. So I've got 4 times 3 is going to be 12 times 11 is going to be 132, and that would be your least common multiple. That's the first thing that both 11 and 12 fit into. So don't get that messed up with that divisor there. You're going to crush that. Moving on to number 5. Graph the following numbers on this number line. They give us a few fractions, a few decimals. It's easiest if we either put them all in the fractions, all in the decimals. I'm going to do them all into fractions this time. I think that works a little quicker for me here. So I'm going to say this one out loud to turn it into a fraction. And I'm going to read out loud 0 and 2/10. Okay, there's my fraction, 2/10 right there. Negative 0 and 7/10. So we got negative 7/10. And now all we have to do is we just have to find a common denominator. That's going to be an easy way to compare these all. So I'm going to use a common denominator of 40 because I just know 4 times 10. That'll work fine. So I'm going to make this common denominator 40 for all of them. I'm just going to list them off over here. We've got 4 numbers. I'm just going to keep them right in the same order for now. So I know to get from 4 to 40, I have to multiply by 10 on top and bottom. I'm going to do that for this one as well. So we're going to get 10 over 40 for this one. And for this third one in, we're going to get negative 30 over 40. Okay. Now I have to multiply these ones by 4 in order to get there. And I'm going to get 8 over 40. And my last one here, I'm going to get negative 28 over 40. Well, now it's pretty easy for me to see which one is the smallest. We have that negative 30 over 40. And then it's going to go negative 28 over 40. And then 8 over 40. And our largest is going to be 10 over 40. And in that same order, it's going to go biggest, second biggest, third biggest, fourth biggest. And if we're going to graph those on here, we just got to make sure we put 0 in here somewhere. And I'll put 1 over here, and negative 1 over here. I'm not too worried about the exact right spot for these, but trying to get close. This is negative 3/4 if we simplify it. So I'm just going to toss it right here. And I know it's going to be negative 3/4. I know negative 28 is going to be pretty close to it right here. I'm just going to toss a negative 0.7. And then pretty close over here, we're going to go with my 8/40 or 0.2 is how they wrote that. And right here, I'm going to toss my 1/4 as the largest. Kind of sloppy with my arrows there. You don't need to put those arrows in. I'm just trying to show you the order of them. But basically find a common denominator for them and then work from there. Number 6, write as a decimal. Again, pretty quick. We already know that 7 is going to be the first part and decimal is going to go after that. I'm just turning this 1/8 into a decimal. This number goes on the inside. Our top number always goes on the inside. Bottom number goes on the outside. What do? We just add a bunch of zeros just in case we need them. I don't know how many I'm going to need. 8 goes into 1 0 times. 8 goes into 10. 1 time is 8. Subtract 2 left over. Carry down a 0. 8 goes into 20. Twice is 16. Subtract. Pull down a 4. Pull down another 0. And we have 40. 8 goes into 40. 5 times is 40. Subtract. Nothing left over. There's our decimal. Pop that on the back of the 7. And it's easy as that. Making sure that number goes on the inside. Add a bunch of zeros. Bottom number on the outside. Do the same thing for 7. Check if that's going to be repeating or terminating. Number 8, a little bit of dimensional analysis here. This is what we worked on just the other day. Basically, we just need to figure out our conversion factor and then multiply from there. So right now I know I have 3 miles, and I'm going to toss that over 1. And we're going to have to try to convert that. So I'm going to convert that by doing how many yards are in 1 mile. So I do know that there are 1,760 yards in a mile. And I know that because we have 5,280 feet. Divide that by 3. I know that's our 1 mile mark. Divide that by 3. And we'll get 1,760. So all I'm really going to do here is I have miles on top. If I plug this in over here, miles will go onto the bottom. That's what we want. If we have it on top, you can move it to the bottom. That will cancel it out. I'm going to cancel those out. And all we got to do now is multiply our fractions. And if we multiply those across, we're going to get 3 times this, which is going to come back to this, over 1. And just pop our units back on there. We know that this one was yards. Pop our units back on. Pull that one on. If you need some more work on that, hop into my office hours. I'd love to give you some more problems. These can be a little bit tricky. The biggest thing is just finding that conversion factor and then multiplying that by our number. In this case, our conversion factor was 1,760 yards are in 1 mile. That's why I chose this number. I was able to find that because I know yards are just 3 feet, and I know that there's this many feet in a yard or in a mile. Number 10, simplify if possible. We are subtracting. I love to make everything into improper fractions, as you know, so I'm going to start by doing that right here. I have 6 full fractions, or I can just do 6 times 2. That's what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to do 6 times 2 is 12 over 2. Tack on that extra 1/2. And we're going to subtract that from 3 full fractions that are 6 on bottom. I'm going to do 3 times 6, 18 over 6. Add that extra 4/6. Simplify that to 13 over 2 minus 22 over 6. Next step here, when we are subtracting and adding, we got to find the common denominator. So I'm going to do that by just multiplying this by 3 to make the common denominator 6. Multiply both these by 3, and we will get something like 39 over 6 minus 22 over 6 equals 17 over 6. And we can turn that back into a mixed number. I know I'd have 2 full fractions and then 5/6 left over. And on those tests, you'll be asked to put that in the simplest form. That might mean there's going to be some mixed numbers there. Number 12. All right, we worked on this just a few days ago as well. We have that power sign on the outside. Remember, when we're using that, all we have to do is we have to pop that onto everything. Pop it on there, pop it on there, pop it on there. Let's do it. We're going to have 5 to the 3rd, w to the 3rd, over 9 to the 3rd. And all I'm going to do is simplify that. I'm going to do 5 times 5 equals 25 times 5 equals 125. W to the third divided by 9 times 9 equals 81 times 9. That's going to be 9, 72, 729. And there's going to be your final answer. Again, when you have those, you're just going to pop it onto each. When you're looking at number 11, just pop that onto each thing. 13, find the product. Simplify if possible. Multiplying a fraction here. All we have to do is we just got to go straight across. Do you know this? We're multiplying, we just go straight across. We're going to get 121 on bottom. We're going to get negative 27 on top. And there's no way to simplify that. I can tell that because there was no way to cross simplify here. 11 is a prime number, so it can't be broken down anymore. Number 14, keep, switch, flip. We're doing that division. Here we go. Let's keep our first one. Switch our symbol. Flip the second one. And we're ready to go. We're going to get 38D on top. Oops, 38D on top. 11D on bottom. And we have a D on top and bottom, so we can cancel those out and make 38 over 11, which is the same as 3 full fractions is 33. That's going to leave 5 11ths left over. We also right here could have seen that we could cross simplify. We could divide both of these by D. If we had done that, we would have gotten 1 over 11 equals 38 over 1, which would have moved us right into 38 over 11. Keep, switch, flip when you are dividing fractions here. Moving on to some equations. 15. Looking at both sides of the equation here, we have addition. So my first thing that I have to worry about is getting that f by itself. I'm going to do that by subtracting 3/4 from each side. Okay, those will cancel those out and get us to f equals 4 and 4/11 minus 3/4. What I'm going to do, I always love those improper fractions, as you know. I suggest always using those and then turning back out of them if you need to. Let's do it. This is going to be 4 full fractions, or 4 times 11. So that's going to be a 44. Tag on that extra 4/11, and we'll get to 48/11 minus 3/4. In order to subtract these, we have to find that common denominator. I'm just going to use 44 if I multiply these both together. So I'm going to toss 44 as the common denominator for both. In order to do that, I got to multiply this one by 4. For the sake of time, I'm going to punch down my calculator. I know you know how to do that on paper. And we will get something along the lines of 192 minus what I'm going to have to do here, times both these by 11. We get 33. All we have to do there is just minus across the top, keep that denominator the same. $159 over 44. I know 44 can go in 3 full times as 132, and that'll leave an extra 27/44. So that's going to take you a little bit longer to figure out, I know, on paper, but it's all doable. And remember, set that equal to f. All we did there is we found a common denominator for both. I made the common denominator 44 after I turned them into improper fractions and moved from there. Number 17. All right, we're doing another equation here. This is what we were working on the other day. Awesome. I'm going to use that reciprocal. Think about that first. We got those fractions there. To cancel that out, I'm going to use the reciprocal. We have 5/11 a equals 3/7. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply each side by the reciprocal to get a by itself. The reciprocal is just that number flipped. These are going to cancel out. I don't even have to do that math. I know that any reciprocal times itself is going to be 1. I can show you that real quick. That'll be 55 on top, 55 on bottom equals 1. 1 times a is just going to be a, so we don't have to do that math. Right here, Multiply these across, multiply those across, 33 over 35, and we are done right there. Using those reciprocals to cancel out those fractions. You're going to do that when you're multiplying, not when you're adding and subtracting. On to number 20. When Jason started the job, he had 207 pounds and 3/8 ounces. Oop, this feels like I'm going to make some improper fractions here. When he finished the job, he had 149 pounds and 3/4. Oh, I don't know if I said ounces earlier. 3/8 pounds and 3/4 pounds of nails. How many pounds of nails did he use on the job? So he originally had 207, and he finished with 149. So we're just going to do minus x here. He subtracted x and got to this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch this up, and I'm just going to add x to each side here. This is going to make my math a little bit easier. So if you want to set this up as 207 3/8 equals 149 3/4 plus x. X is how many pounds of nails he used. That should equal the total amount. We just got to subtract 149 3/4 from each side. And I'm going to set these to be improper fractions. So I'm going to do that for both. Right now I'm going to do 207 times 8. And I get 1,656 over 8 plus that extra 3/8 that's sitting here. If you need help on those improper fractions, hop into my office hours. And on my bottom one, I'm going to have 139 and multiply that by 4, or 4 full fractions. And we're going to get, I'm running out of room over here. It's going to get a little sloppy. Over 4, and then tag on that extra 3/4. And we're going to get something like 1,659 when I add those together over here. Over 8 minus 559 over 4 equals x. Don't worry about anything else anymore. Our last step here to make this work out, we have to find a common denominator. I see that I could use 8, so I'm just going to multiply these by 2. And I'm going to get to 1,100 and, let's see here, 1,118 over 8. I know these numbers are getting big. Hang with me here. Subtract those out. Finally, we're just subtracting straight across the top. You won't have anything that is this large of numbers on your test, I promise. And we're at 541 over 8. And that is going to be 67 full fractions and 1/8 extra, I believe. I feel like there's a chance there's somewhere in there that I made a mistake, so I'd love for you to correct me if you find my mistake. That was a lot of steps there. You won't have anything quite that big on there, but I want you to understand this idea of setting up an equation. If this one confused you a lot, don't fret all too much because, like I said, you won't have anything that big. If you're able to find a mistake I made in there, I'd love to hear it. So I did a lot of math there. Number 21. Find the area of a square garden. That is 5 over b feet on a side. Remember, the formula for an area is A equals a side squared. So basically, I know what I have to do here is take my side, that's my side length, and I'm going to square it. Oh, what do we do here? We take this and we pop it onto the back of both. We're going to have 5, 2 on top, b over 2 on bottom. And finally, we're going to get an area of 25. That's going to be our 5 over 2 over b squared. There's our area. Find the perimeter of the garden. We're going to be doing here. We're using our perimeter formula. They tell us it's 4 times S. P equals 4 times S. We have our S up here already, so let's plug that in. 4 times 5 B. I'm going to make 4 into a fraction to make this a little easier for myself. Make it 4 over 1 times 5 over B. All we have to do here is multiply tops, multiply bottoms, and we get 20 over B. Perimeter equals 20 over B. All I did here was just make this 4 into a fraction and then multiply those together. I got 2 left right here. I know it's getting kind of long. 23. Jamila has a board that is 14 feet long. Delilah has a board that is 165 inches long. Whose board is longer? Okay, well, we have to convert one of these into the other unit. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take 14, and I'm going to convert that into inches. So I know 14 over 1, and I'm going to multiply that by its conversion factor. So I know that feet's going to have to go on the bottom, so I can cancel those out. And I know that there are how many inches in a foot? 12 inches in 1 foot. I have feet on top, feet on bottom. Those will cancel out. And all we have to do here is multiply like a fraction. 14 times 12. We get 168 on top. Keep our inches up there. Over 1 equals 168 inches. All you got to do is compare the two. And you can see that Jamila's board is longer. Again, you're just finding those conversion factors, setting those up as fractions, and multiplying. Last one here. Write 0.7 repeating, notice that repeating sign, as a fraction. Make sure to show each step. All right, we got 0.7. I told you a special rule that for each digit repeating, put over a 9. So we have 1 repeating digit here. So all you have to do here is put that over a 9, and you are done. If we had 0.634 repeating, we have 3 digits repeating, so we would do 634 over 999. All right, you have about 10 left to do here. Work on those on your own. Check them out. Hop into my office hours if you have any questions about these or would like to go over some different examples if you're feeling confused. I want you all to be prepared for that test. Otherwise, you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.